Today is Friday, January 13th. What to know about a severe storm impacting the Deep South and why California is bracing again. Also, we'll tell you about the new special counsel leading an investigation involving President Biden and classified documents. And the U.S. government released new numbers about UFO sightings. Plus, fewer Americans are dying from cancer. Which big tech CEO is taking a big pay cut? And the incredible way an Uber driver saved a passenger's life. Those stories and more in today's episode. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. A giant, severe storm ripped through the Deep South, leaving a trail of destruction for at least 200 miles. The worst of it was in central Alabama, where the storm spawned a large tornado that killed at least 6 people and left many more seriously hurt. As of this morning, search teams are still looking for people who might need help. The storm flipped mobile homes, tore roofs off houses, knocked a freight train off its tracks, and down trees and power lines. It's also collapsed part of a fire department, trapping emergency vehicles inside. But that's just where the worst of the damage happened. Dozens of tornadoes were reported in Alabama, Georgia, and Kentucky. And officials are hoping to get a better look at the damage today as people work to recover. Meanwhile, California storms that have caused flooding, mudslides, and sinkholes aren't over yet. By tomorrow, a new storm is expected to blow through some of the hardest-hit areas again, including San Francisco and Sacramento, bringing at least a few more inches of rain. Then more rain is in the forecast through the middle of next week, all the way south to Los Angeles. Those storms aren't expected to be quite as bad as the ones we've seen this week. So, to be continued. There is now a full investigation underway to figure out how secret government documents ended up in President Biden's home and office. The U.S. Attorney General assigned Robert Hur as special counsel. He's a prosecutor who worked in the Trump administration, and he promises he'll be fair and impartial. Hur is taking over for the U.S. Attorney out of Chicago, who already did an initial review of the found documents. Several lawmakers and law enforcement officials have also demanded more information, asking what initially prompted Biden's team to search through his things in the first place, and why didn't the White House tell the public about what they found sooner? Along with, of course, the biggest questions, what was in the docs and who might have had access to them. The White House says everything was done by the book, and that the special counsel will only find unintentional wrongdoing. President Biden and his lawyers also say they will fully cooperate along the way. By the way, a different special counsel is already running an investigation into classified documents found at former President Trump's home. The Attorney General says special investigators are needed for both cases to avoid the appearance of partisanship. Still, Trump argues the DOJ has been treating him way worse than Biden for political reasons, and he accuses Biden of hypocrisy. Now, even with documents found on his property, President Biden is saying that he takes classified materials seriously. To be continued. An American Navy veteran who's been in Russian custody for nearly a year is finally headed home. Last April, Taylor Dudley was backpacking in Europe and had traveled to Poland for a music festival when at some point he crossed into Russian territory, though it's not exactly clear why. It's also not clear what charges he was held on or how he was able to come home since there was no prisoner swap with Russia. Former New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson has apparently been negotiating his release discreetly for months. The governor's nonprofit works to free Americans detained abroad and was involved in securing the release of another American veteran, Trevor Reed, from Russia last summer. But Richardson says there are many more detained Americans who still deserve freedom and America's backing. Well, American national security agencies are looking into hundreds of new UFO sightings. A new assessment says 366 reports came in just since the first UFO assessment came out in March of 2021. And most of these new reports came from Navy and Air Force pilots. For now, national security officials say there's no evidence of extraterrestrials, but the UFOs could still pose a threat since they've been observed in protected airspace or near sensitive facilities. And while many were already determined to be balloons, drones, or some kind of debris, about half of them could not be explained. And the assessment says they seem to have had unusual flight characteristics or performance abilities. It included few other details, just that no American aircraft has ever collided with a UFO, and observing them has not caused any health issues. Last year, the Pentagon set up an office just to document and analyze UFO reports, so they're still being taken seriously. NASA also set up a study team to look into UFO activity and is scheduled to issue its own report in July. More news is still coming up, but first, a quick break for our sponsor. If you've been wondering about a health issue for a while, maybe you've asked some friends about it, it might be time to get an expert's opinion, even if it's for nothing else but peace of mind. Well, thousands of medical professionals from a variety of specialties are available to search and find and book on ZocDoc, who are able to give you the expert care you need. ZocDoc is the only free app that lets you find and book doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, are available when you need them, and treat almost every condition under the sun. When you're not feeling your best, finding a doctor should not take up all of your energy. Millions of people use ZocDoc to find the right doctor for them. So book an appointment with a few taps in their app, and hopefully soon enough, you can start to feel better. Go to ZocDoc.com/newsworthy and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then find and book a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. ZocDoc.com/newsworthy. A new report from the American Cancer Society says cancer death rates in the U.S. dropped by a third in the past 3 decades. And that translates to 3.8 million deaths averted. The report credits improvements in cancer treatment, increases in early detection, a decline in smoking, and other preventative measures. Sadly, the report does acknowledge there are some racial disparities, though. It says Black men and women are more likely to die from prostate, uterine, and breast cancer as compared to other races. Experts say they aren't sure exactly why, but that it could be because of genetic changes or that fewer people in the Black community have access to health care and health insurance than those in other groups. The worst disparities seem to be in people who die from prostate cancer, and prostate cancer deaths are still high overall. That's one of the only types of cancer that's seen the rate of advanced diagnoses go up. So the American Cancer Society says it's launching new advocacy programs, research, and patient support to try to address the problem. Today, the world is saying goodbye to the only daughter of Elvis Presley, who spent her life preserving his legacy. Lisa Marie Presley died yesterday, just hours after being rushed to the hospital for what was apparently cardiac arrest. She was the sole heir to her father Elvis's estate, as well as his Graceland mansion and the Elvis Presley Charitable Foundation. She's also known for her own music career and high-profile marriages to celebrities like music superstar Michael Jackson and actor Nicolas Cage. This comes as an especially big shock since Presley was just at the Golden Globes on Tuesday to watch Austin Butler win an award for his portrayal of Elvis. And just days before that, she was in Graceland to celebrate Elvis's birthday. Lisa Marie Presley was just 54 years old. An American bank is now required to pay more than $31 million in what's the largest redlining settlement in history. Redlining is what happens when lenders avoid giving credit services to people living in communities of color. Well, the U.S. Justice Department accuses City National Bank out of Los Angeles of doing it from 2017 through at least 2020. Specifically, the DOJ says City National avoided providing mortgage lending services to majority Black and Hispanic neighborhoods, and that it discouraged people in those neighborhoods from getting loans. City National says it doesn't agree with the allegations, but is paying the fine anyway. It's also investing at least $29.5 million in a loan subsidy fund for Black and Latino borrowers. Plus, it's putting nearly $2 million into community outreach, a consumer financial education program, and more. Apple's CEO is doing something pretty rare for someone in his position. He's taking a 40% pay cut, and it's something he actually asked for. Tim Cook made the request after getting some feedback from shareholders who have recommended in the past that investors block his pay package. Still, his compensation will be well above the average, even for someone in his position. Cook's 2023 pay will be about $49 million, down from $99.4 million in 2022. Separately, the Apple CEO has pledged to give away all of his wealth to charitable causes before he dies. Well, there's a new way to buy deeply discounted luxury clothes, but many of them will be secondhand. Rent the Runway just launched its own storefront on Amazon with hundreds of high-end items with its previously loved collection, meaning they've been rented and worn before. There are 35 brands in that category, including Tory Burch and Kate Spade. But then there are never-worn pieces from its so-called design collective, and that's created by up-and-coming designers. All the products on there are eligible for free shipping with Prime and returns through Amazon. And to be clear, they're to buy on Amazon, not to rent. Today, there's a chance you could win $1.35 billion. The Mega Millions jackpot became the second largest in the lottery's history after no one matched all the numbers from Tuesday night's drawing. It's actually been almost 3 months now since somebody won the jackpot, But this time, it's Friday the 13th, which many consider to be an unlucky day. In fact, the Stress Management Center and Phobia Institute estimates that between 17 and 21 million Americans have a pretty intense fear of Friday the 13th. Some fear the number 13 in general, which is why some airlines like Air France often don't have a 13th row, and many buildings in the U.S. don't have a 13th floor. But the lottery says Friday the 13th has actually been pretty rewarding for Mega Millions players over the years. In fact, 6 previous jackpots have been won on Friday the 13th. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Feel Good Friday, when we bring you one extra feel-good or positive news story before the weekend. But first, a quick break for our sponsor. If you are ready to refresh your 2023 wardrobe, check out Rothy's for chic, sustainable shoes that will make you look and feel great. They have a ton of stylish options. And if trying to live a more sustainable life is on your New Year's resolutions list this year, Rothy's has you covered there too. Each style is knit to shape with their sustainable signature thread made from recycled single-use plastic bottles, over 146 million and counting. Not only does that signature thread make them sustainable, it also makes them soft and flexible. So Rothy's shoes feel and look great right out of the box. That's right, 0 break-in period. I'll be honest, comfort is just as important to me as the style when it comes to my shoes. And Rothy's has both. By the way, if you want to make a sustainable swap on handbags, totes, wallets, and more as well, Rothy's has you covered there too. For stylish and comfortable shoes and more, shop Rothy's. Get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Feel Good Friday. A man in New Jersey needed a ride and, more importantly, a kidney. And one Uber driver gave him both. Tim Letts was actually doing just one more job before he was due to trade in his car. He ended up picking up Bill Samuel from a kidney dialysis center and driving him home. The two strangers struck up a conversation, and Samuel told Letts about his dilemma. He needed a kidney donor. But he had been on the transplant list for 3.5 years, and his kids even put calls out on social media with no luck. Well, at the end of the ride, Letts told him, quote, "I think God must have put you in my car." He offered him a kidney. It was determined the two were a match, so they decided to really go through with it. And the transplant operations were a success. Letts told a local news outlet that donation was one of the easiest decisions of his life, saying, quote, "Good people need good people to stand by them." Now, both Letts and Samuel say they're back to their healthy selves and keeping in touch. All right, we'll be back tomorrow with our special edition Saturday episode talking about the job market and workplace trends in 2023. Then join us again on Monday for your next news roundup. For now, thank you so much for listening and have a great weekend.